Alright everybody, welcome to week 3 of the MMC Pokemon Draft League reactions here. Here we have, for the first match, Drees versus Renegade. Drees on a monumental losing streak, while as Renegade is coming off of, so far, an undefeated season so far. Granted, this is only week 3, both teams definitely have a shot to turn it around in the end game, and I do think that Drees solidly has a pretty decent enough matchup as long as he plays his defensive cards correctly, because this Mega Lopunny is definitely very scary into his team. Though Gligar and Bronzong do solidly check it, however, I would not be surprised if this Mega Lopunny had Ice Punch for this Gligar, so he really needs to make sure that Bronzong stays healthy, and that's really tough to do considering it doesn't get reliable healing, and Greninja's there, Dragapult's there, Arcanine's there. There are so many things that are able to slowly chip this thing down. But at the end of the day, with so many things that Bronzong is weak to, maybe it will be more of a dedicated answer, but we shall see here, because I do feel like Drees has a solid enough offensive matchup. Like, Iron Bundle looks great here. I see no issues with Iron Bundle here, aside from maybe Specially Defensive Corviknight, but then if he's Specially Defensive Corviknight, then Zydog with Tera can definitely threaten a lot. So I feel like this is a pretty even matchup, all things considered, depending on how each of them plays. So let's get started right here then with the leads. Okay, so we have lead versus Greninja. Okay, I would be surprised to see this U-turn as it just goes for a hard switch. Okay, as now Venusaur Mega evolves and whiffs a Leech Seed. That's really rough, man. But he just gets it up right away, as now he gets burned by the Galarian Weezing. It's rough, but I think if this thing is special attacking, I don't think it matters too much. The chip damage definitely isn't fun, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. As now Knockoff hits the Arcanine and gets rid of the Silk Scarf, which is pretty solid for it. Does a little bit of chip damage, as now Leech Seed is healing him up a decent amount here. Burn chipping down slightly is kind of rough, but now he has no reason to just not pivot in and out pretty consistently here with like Corviknight and stuff. And now I feel like Drees, is forced to switch as he goes into Bronzong, which then results in the freest U-turn ever, which brings Greninja in for free now. And, okay, just going for spikes instead. Okay, so what does Drees go for? He goes for Trick Room. This makes me think that this Bell is an offensive set, and that's what it seems like. Okay, so this all depends on how well this Bronzong is able to tank this Dark Pulse here, as he's just opting to switch. Okay. Signal Beam, not even going for Body Press. Okay. That's interesting for sure, but I wonder what he has for Corviknight, because right now this does not seem like it is leftovers. So yeah, he's gonna take a lot of damage here. Gets the weakness policy procs, as now he goes for stored power. Okay. He possibly could have gone for Trick Room there, but now this Mega Lopunny is, this is just gonna be rip. This is just gonna be rip. Which now that's kind of his best defensive answer. So he's just gonna have to try to check this thing offensively. As now the Lop goes on out as Corviknight comes in, and the freeze. That's pretty solid. Especially considering Arcanine is dead, so okay, now he goes for that and goes for U-turn. Oh, that is pretty solid for Mike for sure. That was solidly lucky, but it was solidly lucky for Drees to even get the freeze in the first place, so can't really complain too much about that. But dang, okay, and now Lob comes on in and can threaten a KO, or at least ooh, the second swap into Greninja, as now he just goes for Synthesis instead. Willing to just tank that return, as now Galarian Weezing comes on in. Going for Protect, as we see this is 1000% a stall Mega Venusaur. Only attacking move is Knock Off, which gets absolutely shut down by Galarian Weezing Pont. Pretty solid bring right there for sure. As now he brings in Megalop. He sees that this thing cannot threaten him at all, so he has no reason to just not click the big funny return button. As now Gligar comes on in, and while sure, I feel like it'll do, yeah, I do think this follow-up Ice Punch will be really bad, but he decides to just switch into Corviknight instead. Okay, not deciding to roost there. No, I see the vision. It could be a little rough having to switch into it again, but that only did 26%, so you could still live 2 and roost off again. As now this Venusaur is just going for knockoff on things, synthesizing, and getting up Leech Seed damage. This is an interesting play. I feel like, yeah, I mean, this does just kind of seem like a Drees play. What am I saying? I'm in love with Coco. I love that. That's a good nickname. I like that. Going for Phantom Force. Okay. Is this Infiltrator? Oh, okay. Gligar's forced to come in on this. Taking a chunk. This should always roost here. Oh, going for Defog. Okay. I mean, that's a solid enough answer, but I do think you need to keep yourself healthy. If this doesn't have Roost, that's really bad. Going for Strange Steam, doing a chunk, and now bringing in Greninja. Going for Rocks. Do you not have Roost on this thing? Okay, that's your best switch into Mega Lopunny. I think this is gonna end poorly. Like, at the end of the day, like, you could offensively check it, but I don't like how your switch-ins to Megalop are gone now. And now Coco is dead too. So Bundle really just has to hope that he can solo the team from here. And the Water Shuriken, I mean, it doesn't do nothing. Like, it does a bit. Like, it's not nothing, but it's better than nothing at all. So solid enough. But then Lop comes on in, gets off the fake out. That does a chunk. That does a chunk, bro. Now, ooh, the quick attack living on 2. Ice Beam living on 2 again. Oh, wow. That is depressing. But Venusaur coming in and tanking a hit. What can I say? He's doing his job. Ooh, that's a fat crit. That's a fat crit there as he goes for Synthesis. Okay, so crit didn't really matter too much. Okay, and now we see that Lop won't be able to switch back in unless this thing goes for Defog, which I think it should definitely have. It's only shown U-turn and Roost, so let's see if he goes for Defog. And we do see a Defog. Does that get rid of Seed as well? It does not. Okay. I wasn't sure, because Rapid Spin does get rid of Leech Seed, so I wasn't sure if Defog would as well. But now just getting up a bit more Leech Seed damage. So Lop can still come in, so if this Venusaur gets down low enough, it definitely can pose a massive threat. Drees is definitely pulling this back a little bit after I feel like he was a little behind because of his main switch-ins to Lop going down. But thankfully, this Lop is so far chipped down that I think it does have a solid chance of coming back a little bit. This is going into Zydog then. I think, okay, going for the Wraps with Dragon Dance. Ooh, that did a chunk. This is definitely in Megalop quick attack or fake out range here, so I do think he has to switch. Yep, switching into Mega Venu as he goes into fake out. I don't think this is range unless this is maybe a high roll. No, it is. Okay, it is in range. I think that might have been a high roll then, because he did 50 with a crit. That's rough there. But yeah, now this Lop will just be able to clean this thing up. This Lop is a demon for sure. Being able to take out just about like most things on this team so far. Like, I think he took out Zydog, he took out Venu, Bundle. I don't think Coco did. No, Greninja took out Coco. I can't remember what killed Gligar. I think maybe Lop did too. I can't exactly remember, but at the end of the day, like, this thing has been a demon. I feel like people haven't been respecting it. I think Gligar with Roost had a solid enough chance of, like, at least, like, being... It might have been a little too passive, but honestly, like, I think running, instead of Defog, I think I would have ran, like, maybe Toxic, and then, like, Roost instead, just because you always want to be able to, like, roost up on any of these threats. The only one that really threatened you severely was the Greninja, and I don't think Greninja was that amazing into your team, considering that you had Mega Venu, Iron Bundle. Zydog was still pretty scary. Well, it was pretty scary into Zydog. Tapu Koko, like, I don't think Gren was that terrifying for you to switch in on, so I think having Roost on Gligar specifically for these physical attackers like Lopunny and Dragapult would have been really big, but I think you put up a really good fight, that's for sure, and yeah, I am hoping that, not hoping, but I am sure that you will come back in the next week. But that is the first match here, so let's get right into the second match. Alright everybody, welcome to the fifth battle here. We have Mana Burn versus Caps Lock. Honestly, very interesting matchup for sure, because on one hand, I feel like Rotom Heat on Mana Burn's side, if it's an offensive variant, does have a lot of potential here. Like if it's a choice spec set, I feel like it can just threaten most things with like choice specs overheat. Like his best resistance being I guess like Assault Vest Slowking does pretty good, as well as Assault Vest Scrafty that does pretty well too. But then Palafin as well, like, but then the Palafin does not like eating a choice specs like Volt Switch. So I do think that Rotom Heat definitely has a shot, even if it's like a Pasho Berry Nasty Fun set. I think that could have really good potential for sure. But then at the same time, I look at Caps Lock's team, and then I'm like, Palafin does kind of just cook here. Like, you're like the best resistance to Palafin being like Terra Water on Diancie, which I don't even remember if Mana Burn's Diancie can Terra Water, to be honest, or Roaring Moon. And even then, like, the Diancie has to Terra first, so it's like, it's not really a switch-in until it Terras. So, yeah, that's definitely a iffy spot, I would say. But I do think that Palafin has a really great matchup. Lando has a pretty solid matchup, especially with Edgequake. Edgequake does kind of just, like, roll a lot of Mana's team here, especially with, like, U-Turn being able to hit Deoxys for super effective damage. That hits the entire team for super effective damage. Or even like knockoff for that matter. So generally, I think Caps probably has the edge here, just because like their offensive pieces don't get resisted very well by Mana Burn's team, whereas Mana Burn's offensive potential does kind of get have a lot of solid resistances or like bulky pivots, like the Intim twins here with Lando T and Scrafty. Alongside Tinkaton for Roaring Moon, of course. So, let's just see how this all goes then. Starting off with the first turn here, where we have Decidueye versus Deoxys Speed. I wonder if this thing is going to just set up hazards or not. Just going to swap into Roaring Moon. Fair play, I'd say. Ooh, that U-turn, bro. That was a rough turn one, especially since that just dies to Jet Punch immediately after. Huh. That was pretty rough, I will say. Now this is just, yep, a free Scrafty switch. Just going to set up some spikes. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Going for Terra Dark knockoff, if I had to guess. Going for Bulk Up. Okay. Instead, just trying to... I see now. I see. Going for the knockoff now. That did do a chunk, but this likely means that it's physically defensive then. Okay, going with the Toxic. I think we saw that this is Shedskin, no? Or it might be Moxie. It might be Moxie. And we see yet another Mon that definitely should not, well, not should not be running Toxic, but definitely, like, does not seem like it could run Toxic, running Toxic. But now, okay, Drain Punch on the Excadrill. This drafty is definitely going to pose a really big threat. This is really interesting. Going for the SD on this. Oh, and Dragon Tail too to stop that. Oh wow, this Scrafty set really is tough. Okay, going for Drain Punch on the Diancie. Okay, I think this might be able to 1v. Ooh, the Shedskin, man. Ooh, okay. All right. I think that was crazy good. That's really good prep, I would say. Bring in the Tinkaton. This will likely Tera here out of its Steel type weakness. Yep, Tera Water. Going for oh my gosh, Caps Lock, just absolutely just shutting down this this team here. This is crazy. Going for Rotom Heat now, just probably going to Volt Switch. Okay, just gonna hard switch into Mega Pinsir. As they also hard switch into Landorus Therian, getting the Intim off on the Pinsir. Going for SD, this is likely going for Stone Edge, if I had to guess. Yup, and it KOs. Alright, that's really rough for sure. Diancie, and now it's gonna get taunted? Oh wow. Really prepped hard for this Diancie for sure. Wow. Yep, just going. That Draining Kiss did do a chunk. I can't lie. That Draining Kiss did do a chunk. Now bringing in Decidueye, just getting off some minimal damage as now the taunt finally ends. Going into Rotom Heat, probably going for Leaf Blade. That did a lot for a resisted hit. That did a lot. And it does get the kill. Ooh. I think Decidueye might be able to just clean up from here, because Poltergeist should be able to kill this Deoxys now. Oh, that might be choiced. That might be choiced. Considering that switch. And the eject button, Slowking into Scrafty. Yeah, this Scrafty is just going to clean up from here then. Because this is going to get knocked, if I had to guess. Yep. Going to take a fat chunk. And then just going to switch into Tinkaton, if I had to guess. Oh, Slowking Galar. Alright. I think that's also a very fair option. Diancie gets up a sub. He just has to kind of go for the game here with this Diancie. That did a lot. Breaking through that. Oof. I wonder if this is a... Okay, there we go. Must have been a roll. Going for the Calm Mind again. Those leftovers being gone is definitely really rough, because I don't think this Draining Kiss will be enough. Yeah. It did do nothing. Okay, going for the Toxic. Yeah. This is why I hate Toxic. This is why I hate Toxic. But, I mean, I think this thing gets Toxic in Paldex anyways, so... Yeah, can't really complain too much, but this might be a 6-0 dub for Caps. Okay, just barely keeping above water with the 1 HP yet again on the Diancie. Going for Stealth Rock and Earth Power. The Shuka Berry. Wow, Caps really just prepared for everything, huh? Wow, okay. This was a systematic breakdown of a team, if I had to say anything. Just wow. Okay, let's see. This Palafin freeze? Oh, a freeze! There's technically a chance. Well, a chance for not a 5-0. Or a 6-0, I mean. Let's see. And this is... No Psycho Boost, just Mono Ice. Okay. And... Still stays frozen. Going for the Scrafty then. Okay. Going for the Ice Beam again. Does not do nearly enough, as this is likely especially defensive with bulk up, if I had to guess. And then the knockoff claims the kill on Dio. That nets Caps Lock a 6-0 victory against Mana. That was just a systematic breakdown, if I had to say anything. Everything just seemed to work perfectly. The Encore Tinkaton, while it's not like the most wild thing in the world, it was great into this team in particular. The bulk up Scrafty was crazy good offensively into this team. The taunt, Defog, Lando T. I imagine that is a choice Decidueye if I had to guess. Just everything I would say was just really well put together, especially with like the Chocoberry on the Tinkaton, the eject button, Slow King, everything. It was just systematic. I applaud that. I applaud that prep for sure. And I hope you all enjoyed this battle too, because wow, that's all I can really say. That was some really good play. I can't fault that at all. But yeah, guys, that was the 5th match, and let's get on to the 6th then. Alright everybody, welcome to the 4th match here. We have Vinny versus Iger, the 11-point god. And honestly, if I'm going to be so real, I think Vinny has an amazing matchup here. I can't even lie. Gliscor genuinely looks like it could sweep his entire team. He has no removal outside of like maybe Defog on like Silvally, but like with Glimmora and Gliscor there, hazards are being up, man, and this is not going to end well, I feel like, because even with all of that, there is no removal on Iger. Well, not removal, there's no Mons that can break through Gliscor on this team. Or even Skeletors for that matter, because Skeletors kind of just sits in front of Scolipede, and same thing with Gliscor, it kind of just sits in front of them. The only thing that I could really think of would be like Snorlax, I guess, but Snorlax isn't breaking through Unaware Dirge. Metagross isn't breaking through Dirge. Like, nothing is really going to break through these defensive menaces. And then Weavile, like, it's not amazing, don't get me wrong. Like, I think Weavile has a solid enough matchup, but with Pert there, able to take some hits. But, like, also, like, the things that want to switch into Ice-type moves don't really like getting knocked off. So it's, like, it's really hard for me to say that. Like, Scolipede can do some things, but, like, it's not breaking through Dirge, it's not breaking through Gliscor. So, like, unless Iger absolutely cooks the shit out of this, I think Vinny has an amazing matchup here, personally at least. But let's see how this lead set goes. Alright, so here we have Aggron, which is definitely going to Mega Evolve, and Scolipede. Okay, what is Scolipede going to do? Just switch immediately into Swampert. Interesting play. Well, I think that's a pretty solid play, as Mega Aggron goes for Stealth Rock. Ooh, that Earthquake did a chunk, I would say. That crit also did a chunk. That probably hurt him significantly more. And then giving the Mega Aggron some grassy terrain is interesting for sure. But yeah, going into Glimmora, I think that is a very solid play. Now it kind of forces him to go into Metagross as Vinny goes into Dirge. Ooh, Silvally Steel. Okay, so not Silvally Water or Ice like I initially was expecting for Gliscor. Ooh, just going to go for the Toxic on Dirge. As now Dirge goes for Will-O-Wisp instead of Torch Song. I think Torch Song would have generally been a little bit better personally, but at the end of the day, I don't think it was the worst thing in the world, as now the switch into Parting Shot here, and now Scolipede is coming back in, taking a little bit of damage here. I think it's safe to say this thing might be Focus Sash. Going for SD with the Scolipede. Maybe this isn't the best time in my opinion. Mainly just because, ooh, Aqua Tail! I like that. That did do a fat chunk, I will say. But now Gliscor's at a really low HP stat, so I think this is 100% great trade. Breaking through Gliscor, that was a big feat for Iger for sure, and really puts him at a good level here. But now Dirge just comes on in, and I think he has to switch. I mean, okay, getting damage off on Dirge is definitely big, especially considering that Dirge is kind of like one of the main like defensive corner pieces of this team. But I do think Scolipede, yeah, I don't know. That's definitely rough, I will say. Going for flip turn, breaking the balloon, and getting up some toxic debris. That was pretty solid, I will say. Now bring in Metagross. Okay, just going for the bullet punch, knocking this thing out. I think that's a pretty solid idea. Going into the Dirge now. The Dirge. Okay, swapping out, and it gets poisoned. So this is definitely going to be a thick fat set if I had to guess. But sadly, yeah, now that this thing is both toxic, definitely not an amazing trade, especially considering that this thing can't reliably heal itself outside of maybe rest, which would be great for this toxic damage. Okay, now switching into Clefable, as now Snorlax is just clicking in Earthquakes. As also we see its leftovers, of course. I forgot to mention that. Going into Silvally, Steel. If this thing is a special attacking Silvally, then the burn doesn't quite matter on it. I think that might be a pretty decent shout. Going for Roar. It seems like this thing is just full defensive potential here. Or not defensive, but support-oriented, which is definitely interesting, I'd say. Going for Parting Shot, lowering these things special attack. It's probably not going to change much because of Unaware. But yeah, thick fat Snorlax, not going to take much at all. I think now would be a good time to go for rest if he is running it. Going into the Bulu, hoping for a swap if I had to guess. Just going for Slack Off. So now the Bulu, I think, is in a pretty rough position to be in right now. And as we see, like, the hazards on Iger's side is definitely really starting to stack up here. The hazard chip on everything alongside the toxic damage, it's definitely looking really rough, even with the 2 toxic immunities. The Pert, Snorlax, and Bulu all being toxic is not the best. That Nature's Madness miss on Clefable definitely feels pretty rough, but I don't think there was much else that Bulu really could have done. Okay, going for Toxic on the Clef. Is this Magic Guard or is this Unaware? We see that this is in fact Unaware, not Magic Guard. Going for Teleport into Dirge. Okay, Mega Aggron getting a little bit of HP on this thing. Well, not a little bit of HP, a big amount of HP for the Wish. And now Mega Aggron is honestly in a pretty good position. That Nature's Madness is definitely going to chunk a bit, as Vinny was expecting a swap, likely into Silvally, but it does end up getting a kill anyways with Toxic, so it was a net neutral on that play. Now going for Swampert, just going for the kill with EQ. I think that's a very solid play. If this is offensive Pert with EQ, there's a shot this thing could start breaking. Never mind, Weavile comes on in. Into Silvally Steel. I think this is probably his best swap in, because, yep, this thing is not going to take much damage because of the RKS system. And, okay, just going for the SD. If this thing is Flash Cannon, okay, no, going for Parting Shot. Alright, Metagross, I think that's a solid play. Going for the BP on him. Just gonna get knocked off, yep. And, oh, okay, crit. It mattered, but it didn't, like, absolutely, like, ruin him like a kill would have. Especially considering he ended up swapping anyways. Going for the knockoff. Does he go for the slack off? Yes, he in fact does. If he didn't go for slack off there, that might have been Raps, and Iger, I think, would have been in an amazing position to potentially win with Swampert. The Snorlax, I think the Snorlax has to be rest at this moment in time. If it's rest, I think it has a shot. Let's see. Okay, just going for EQ. Do we see a rest coming in here next? If this is rest Snorlax, no. I do think that might be Raps then, because like I was mentioning before, there's just not enough offensive breaking going on here. as Clefable just lives with a sliver, goes for the teleport. I mean, it will die on the incoming turn unless it, well, no, not even if it comes back into Wish. Skeletors just comes back in, Toxic claims the kill on Snorlax, and now this is definitely in a position to lose here. Okay, Swampert just going to flip turn, kill the Clefable, and bring in likely Silvally. Yes, Silvally. As now Dirge is forced to come back in, and Dirge I think will likely pick up the kill on this and Pert, and for the rest of the team for that matter. And the multi-attack does not do enough, and the Shadow Ball does not kill, but it will kill with the burn. Which will be another kill for Skeletors, because that is the thing that burns Silvally. If it was Silvally Water, it might have done a little bit different, but... Ooh, the crit flip turn! Ooh! The crit flip turn! That might be it! That is it! Wow! Wow. Congrats, Iger. That was a huge game for them, for sure. This was a super hyped game. I think Vinny had an amazing matchup, but Iger was just able to completely just keep on pivoting around Vinny and then slowly chipping down his defensive pieces. I thought that Vinny was still in a really good position to possibly like come back and like beat him in the end game, but that crit flip turn, I don't know if that ended up mattering because of Torrent, but it definitely might have. Wow, that was a crazy game and a crazy ending for sure. Iger beats Vinny, who is undefeated and first overall, with a 2-0 victory. Wow, and it was super close here with 13% damage HP left on Swampert and 8% on Metagross. This was a crazy close game, guys. And I hope you all enjoyed. And let's get right back into the fifth match now. Alright everybody, welcome to the third match here. We have J-Mines versus Ash Ice Claw. Two big heavy hitters from the Showdown seasons of the past, and now they're facing off in regular season here. Overall, I think both have fairly equally good matchups. I think Gengar does not have the absolute best matchup here, only just because Obstagoon on Ash Ice's team is just the freest switch in ever. Granted, Focus Blast, yes, but Focus Blast is very inconsistent, let's just say. And if they are a setup variant, Clodsires right there can tank just about any hit from Gengar pretty easily. And then the regen core of Torn and Aloe. I think Gengar will be a little bit of a liability here, especially with how so many things on this team can hit it really hard. Haxorus would probably be able to KO it at +1 if it's like Choice Bandage or a D-Dance set, if I had to guess. Torn will be able to knock it off, and then even Dhelmise, like as Gengar trying to switch into Spin Block on the Dhelmise, depending on what the set is, I imagine Dhelmise could live one hit from Gengar and be able to KO in return with Poltergeist. So I don't think that was the best matchup, I would say, but you still can't count out Terra Water Araquanid. You can never count that thing out. I suspect that this Clodsire is going to be water absorbed for that one particular Mon. And then from there, I think otherwise it's fairly even. I think Obstagoon has a really good matchup here, though Mega Scizor does switch in very easily against it, so I hope this thing is running like Fire Punch or something. But regardless, let's just see how it all goes here with the leads. Alright, I suspect Charjabug lead. Ooh, Terrapagos. And then Bird Up. This is likely going to go for U-turn if I had to guess. Yep, just breaking that Terra Shell. This could be a Meteor Beam set. So Clodsire comes on in. Oh, going for Rock Polish. Is this... Okay, ooh, this is a Meteor Beam set. And that does not do much at all. This very well... I could definitely see this being an unaware set. Yeah, that is 100% unaware, unless this Terrapagos has absolutely zero special attack investment. That special attack stat, that did nothing. Scizor coming on in though against the Clodsire, probably trying to defog if I had to guess, because it seems like this Terapagos does not in fact have Rapid Spin. Mega Scizor going for knockoff. Ooh, did a chunk to the big bird. Aloe coming on in, getting the regen up, and bringing Terapagos back in, taking those spikes damage because it's Power Herb. And then just bringing back in Clodsire. Yep, doing a cool 30%, and that proves that this is an unaware Clodsire, because they did the same amount of damage even when he was at +1. Mega Scizor coming on in as Clodsire decides to recover. I feel like this is going to be a long one, folks. Alright, Aloe coming on in as Scizor goes for Sword Stance. Knockoff not doing that much, but in return, Aloe does not really do much against it, and this is likely going to be Roost, Sword Stance, Knockoff, and Bullet Punch, if I had to guess. Bullet Punch, we see that. Do we see Roost? Okay, going for Sword Stance again, just trying to go for a Bullet Punch sweep, getting a crit on the flip turn. Going into Dhelmise, okay, and going for the Tera Water, alright. Tanking that Bullet Punch. If they went for knockoff, that very well might have killed. This is likely not Roost then, because I feel like they should have gone for that if that was the case. Going Charge-a-Bug now, probably trying to get up webs if I had to guess. Yep, getting them webs up, and going for Lunge. This is not going to do anything for this Clodsire because it is unaware, but I don't think this Clodsire cares regardless, as now they're just switching in Gengar. Oh, not heavy duty boots, so I would suspect that this is a choice variant, but I'm not 100% sure, as Tornadus misses a Bleak Wind, letting Gengar get a nasty plot up for free. That's really tough. Now bringing in Clodsire again, yep, for the unaware ability. So let's see. Yeah, that does absolutely nothing. I imagine their Shadow Ball is going to do roughly 20%, if that. Psychic does 30. That does not do enough, as now Earthquake is able to KO the Gengar. Yeah, that's exactly what I expected. But this Clodsire is, funnily enough, claiming some names. But now Araquanid coming on in to Tera Water Liquidation, if I had to guess. Yep. Ooh, doing a chunk to Aloe, but not nearly enough. Yeah. Ooh, getting the defense drop. That's actually pretty good, because now... Okay, going for that. Yeah, this is definitely not amazing, I would say. Yep, going for Liquidation. Ooh, doing that cool 54%. But now just going for the flip turn, getting the regen up, and bringing in the Obstagoon. Yeah, I think this might... No, that does not outspeed. Oof. That is... Yeah, I think now... Well, maybe not sweep now, because Infernape comes on in, so this will force them to go into Clodsire again, or Torn. That also works. Or even Aloe would have worked too, but going for SD, trying to do their absolute best, but getting outsped and getting Bleak Winded. Yeah, I think Ash Ice claims a 6-0 dub here. It all sort of depends on, yeah, that miss kill, and now Charge-a-Bug coming in doesn't really do much because it takes the Spikes chip, it's toxic, and gets Heat Waved, barely survives, but it does not end up mattering because the Lunge does not do nearly enough, and the bus goes down. So like I sort of was saying, Gengar I felt like wasn't the best option here, and wasn't able to break too much. Terapagos, maybe if it was like a Calm Mind with leftover set, could have done a little bit better, but regardless, Ash Ice played incredibly well. Getting those spikes up with Clodsire was excellent play, I would say, and really forced Jay into a really tough bind for sure. But regardless, everybody, I hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you guys in the 4th match. Hello everybody, welcome to the second match here of week 3 where we have Patty versus Old Man. Honestly, pretty interesting setups here. Unironically, I think Hisui and Avalugg has an amazing matchup into Patty with the 6 that he brought. Valiant is kind of the only one that really likes to be ran physical, or not physical, special. And because of Hisui and Avalugg's massive physical bulk, even if it's weak to Zygarde and Ogerpon, or even like ground type coverage from Entei, it's still going to be able to eat those hits pretty well, and he does threaten them pretty significantly, I would say. And adding on top of that, that he is a rapid spinner when Patty has no spin blockers or anything, I think Hisui and Avalugg can be really solid here. But in the same vein, I do think Iron Valiant has an insane matchup here, because just going for special attacks here, like with Psyshock as coverage, I think genuinely has an amazing matchup here, I would say. Like Psyshock for Salazzle, fighting type moves for pretty much everything else, and then fairy type moves for Garchomp and Darkrai, and then like Calm Mind with booster speed. I think that is a very solid set here. Both of these teams I feel like have a very good chance of doing well against each other, so let's just see how it all turns out here. Okay, so with the leads we have Overqwil versus Salazzle. Okay, so this is likely going to try to go for a Toxic immediately, as that is indeed what happens, and now Toxic spikes go up. Alright, not a bad shout, because I mean, unless this is Heavy Duty Boots Avalugg, this is just going to rapid spin away that hazard right away. Salazzle going for Encore and Protect, so we have seen 3 moves on this Salazzle so far, so it doesn't seem like this would be a substitute, unless, of course, I mean, there's a chance. That did a chunk with Sacred Fire, but that was also not very effective, so I don't believe that is Choice Banded. But it might have been Scarf. But it does seem like he is choice locked into it, so it very well could be banded if this is if this is very physically defensive. And that is not choice banded, and now this kills that Salazzle. But now Patty's 2 of Patty's Mons have been toxic. And then Avalugg comes on in, and this is just gonna rapid spin immediately. If I had to guess, going for the Tera Water. Yeah, I think this Avalugg has a really, really crazy good matchup here. Horse Fear did nothing to this thing, and now Avalanche is absolutely wrecking this Valiant, doing 40 as, I probably would have recovered there, because I think this genuinely had a chance of like slowly wearing down the entire team. I think that was a pretty big misplay personally. But now bringing out Escavalier on the Overqwil. That crit with the Iron Head is crazy, knocking him into Citrus Berry range. Did a fat chunk for sure. Now getting up these Toxic Spikes, which are going to stay around because now his Rapid Spinner and his Grounded Poison type are gone, as Escavalier claims the kill. And now Entei coming on in and can just sort of click Sacred Fire for free. Yeah, he can go into Garchomp, but it's going to get poisoned, and this Sacred Fire is still going to... it did less than I thought it would, to be fair. It did less. But still, regardless... Ooh, the switch. Does he... Okay, he also switches into Togi. Alright, this is just a free Iron Head, I would say. Going into Ogerpon Wellspring. I wonder how this is... Oh, that eats! Okay. Now going for U-turn, solid. And going into Entei again, Togi on the Mega Horn. Makes sense, makes sense. I wonder if this has a Flamethrower for this thing, or Fire Blast. Going into Garchomp, predicting the Fire type attack. Nope, just going for a Flying attack. And I do believe that will be enough to kill from here then, and ooh, the flinch. ironic I would say, that the Togi gets into the crit, man. Oh, poor Patty, that's a rough one. But I do believe that Patty is in a very good position here, I will say. Ooh, this is Boots Darkrai. Oh, never mind. No, just how Showdown is weird. Okay, going into Togi, and everything is getting poisoned. Going for the U-turn, I think, yep. Oh, Zygarde instead of Entei. I like it. I like the play. Is he gonna whip out the famous Skitter Smack? No, just going for the substitute instead. Subcoil, if I had to guess. Ooh, going for Leech Seed. I do think that Zygarde has a chance to just, going for 1,000 Waves. Ooh, he's gonna trap him in? I like it. I like that set, Patty. That's an evil set. Going for the D-Dance now. Now he gets 2 D-Dances for free. Ooh, that doesn't break even after the Earthquake? And that was a crit, too. Wow, this is a bulky Zygarde. Holy. But yeah, okay, now this will definitely be enough to outspeed this Darkrai. I wonder if this 1,000 Waves or Dragon-type attack will be enough to KO. Going into Escavalier, going for 1,000 Waves, doing a chunk, can't escape anymore. Going for Iron Defense, okay. I don't think it'll be enough. It all sort of depends. Yeah, I don't think that is going to save him there. I think it might be a roll to live, and it is not. Okay. And now Darkrai coming on in, and I think this is Jover now. Going for Ice Beam? Oh, just Dark Pulse. Okay. I imagine this is choice locked into something. Otherwise, I feel like... Actually, no. Maybe Dark Pulse wasn't the best option if he was choice locked, because Iron Valiant's right there. Going for the Sub-Stall. I don't know exactly what the reason is for doing that. I see it in the chat. Apparently Patty does not KO from this range at +2. He must be very, very bulk invested. Alright. What? I wonder if this Darkrai will be... getting another substitute off. Rip, Patty. Way to go, Patty. Alright, and Patty gets the dub on week 3 with a 4-0 dub for sure. Huge GG's all around. I will say, I feel like, ooh, that did not kill. That's a very bulky Darkrai. But, claim the kill, and gets a, well, actually Overquill gets the kill for the Toxic Spike. Alright. Well, that is a 3-0 dub for Patty, not a 4-0, because that 1,000 Waves did not in fact kill. But regardless, I think that was a pretty interesting match for sure. A couple of plays that I probably would have made differently, though overall, I think both players played generally well. I do think that Avila Kasui going down so early was probably one of the biggest misplays, I would say. I think that thing was able to switch in fairly consistently into pretty much everything here, and I think letting it go down to Val without even getting the Toxic Spike, actually no, he did get rid of the Toxic Spike, that's my bad, but letting that thing go down, I think was a pretty big misplay. But regardless, I will see you guys in the 4th match here. Wait. 2nd match here coming right up soon. See ya. Alright everybody, welcome to match number 6, where we have Legion versus Forza. Honestly, this is a pretty solid matchup, I would say. I would say that Forza is probably like a little, well, I'd say a decent chunk at the advantage here. I feel like Terrain Sneasler here is insanely good. Like looking at Legion's team right now, he does not have any of his Tera Captains at this moment. And then at the same time, 3 of his 6 Mons are all weak to fighting, and none of them really resist poison and fighting. Aside, well, Megazard switches into close combats, but it can't really do that super well. That's kind of the same deal with the rest of his team. That's probably the main thing I would say. So after an Unburden boost, as well as a Swords Dance, I think he will threaten Legion pretty significantly. So it's all about denying Sneasler for Legion, I feel like. And if he can do that, I think that's very solid. one way to do that would be with Raging Bolt, because with Thunderclap, I think that should be able to do fairly well, I would say, or even like Quick Attack on Iron Boulder. Any kind of priority on this team that he can have, I don't believe outside of those things he has any priority, but with priority, I think he could potentially do that. And then also not really having the best switch-ins to Chi-Yu alongside Megazard, being able to set up the Sun for it. Kind of rough, I would say. But let's just see how this all ends up going here. Alright, so with the first turn, we have Lead Zarude versus Lead Rhydon. And just the Tera Steel immediately as he goes for Knockoff. Pretty solid getting rid of the Eviolite, as now it gets Toxic. I love Toxic. I love Toxic, guys. Going for Iron Treads now. The Rock Slide Mist does not really matter unless it was Focus Sash. Legion, my friend, buddy. Come on, man. You can't just do that. Just going for another knockoff as he misses Rock Slide. These first few turns are peak, I would say. And is he running the Earthquakeless Iron Treads? That's insane. You're an insane man, Legion. Now going for Zard. Going into Florges, because that is just the hardest special wall he can possibly have. Let's see how much Drought... Ooh, Drought Weather Ball. That's barely less than half. So unless that was a low roll... The Iron Tail tech on Megazard. I love that. That's sick. That's a sick tech. And he landed it too. So big one for sure. Going for Indeedee. This is likely Scarf if I had to guess. Going into Zarude now. Going for the Trick Room. Okay. Is this Trick Room like fast, slow Chi-Yu? Or, ooh, I mean... Also, Trick Room Mega Steelix is a possibility too, and that's pretty solid, I would say. But yeah, going into this thing is pretty solid. Going into Mega Steelix, he should probably preserve his Mega, if I would say. Okay, going for the Mega right away, that's fine. And going for the Rock Slide, wow. Forces are just predicting all those switches in, and finally he gets one. And now going into Zarude, and a hard switch back into Iron Boulder. Going for Body Press, doing a fat chunk there. If he had went for Heavy Slam, that would have been really rough, but he's just spam clicking Body Press. Now let's see where it goes from here. Yeah, Boulder, this is not going to be able to KO this Mega Steelix. Yeah, that Sacred Sword does not do much damage. And also, Legion, why are you going for Sacred Sword? Boulder gets close combat. Buddy, my friend. Going for Garm now, as Garm... Who going for the... You didn't do it correctly, Legion. No! You didn't EV it correctly. You need it to be even. Legion, my buddy. Oh, the crit. The crit. It doesn't end up mattering because just comes in for free afterwards. Draco still does a chunk, I will say. I think that might be Specs. Earthquake does not KO, but hey, Raging Bolt is picking up the KO, so now it's only a two Mon lead. Okay, now Chi-Yu is going to be the one that claims the kill here. Honestly, big GG's. I think the play was a little underwhelming in certain aspects. I think I pointed out the main ones. No Earthquake on Iron Treads at all. I feel like that was a pretty big blunder, unless you just didn't click it. And then the Belly Drum, like missed EVs on the HP was a little rough. No close combat instead of just running Sacred Sword instead of close combat. Like, maybe you want the secondary effect of Sacred Sword. Like, I can't remember exactly what it does. I think it ignores stat boosts, but like, it's just not, you're not doing as much damage even if it's setting up defenses. So I think it was just a better idea to do that. Otherwise, I do really like the Iron Tail Charizard. That was pretty sick for Florges. And then on Forza's side, I think you played that really well. You went for a lot of predicts with Rock Slide, but hey, it ended up working out and it didn't really cost you too much at the end of the day going for those. So I think that was a pretty fair play. But yes, so that was the 6th match here. So let's get right on in to the 7th one here in just a moment. Alright everybody, welcome to the 7th match. Here we have Victory Stars versus Cran. Honestly, like, I helped Cran with prepping a little bit, so I generally know what he is bringing. But I still think that his team is just not very, not that it's not good, it's just not good into Victory Stars' team in particular, just because, like, I don't know, man. It's rough. I feel like Mega Gallade just has a terrible matchup here with Nidoqueen, Hisuian Zoroark, Ryun. Like, there's so many mons here that do not care about fighting and psychic type attacks. It's really rough, I feel like. But he brought the Moltres like I hoped he would, and he was 100% right. Victory did not end up bringing Skarm here. I feel like Skarm was fairly solid here, though it does make sense why he didn't bring it, because it is just kind of like it's forced to run a shed shell, so it doesn't get trapped by Magnezone. But overall, I really like the team, and Victory Stars' team, yeah, this is pretty much what I expected him to bring into this team. Victini, Mega Maw, Meowscarada, Nidoqueen. I mean, Nidoqueen is still solid, like, it's fine. And then Horark, yep, and then Ryun. Tera Ryun just busted as per usual. But, alright, let's see how this all ends up going here with the first turn. Let's turn that up a little bit. There we go. Alright, Meow and Samu. Switch out into Magnezone, very fair. Going for the Flower Trick, and we're gonna see 21%. I mean, eject button into Moltres. Okay. Yep, the Power Gem, but it is fine because weakness policy. Go for the agility. Okay, well, Sash. But, sad. Sash set, rip. That sucks. But, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool, I would say. Going for the sub CM strats. Honestly, not a bad idea. Why are you going for Draining Kiss there? Why? Instead of going for Calm Mind, was that a misclick, Cran? Was that a misclick I see? Possibly. Oh. Trying to see if it was Zoroark, I see. Okay, going for Ceaseless. No, I personally would have gone for Ceaseless, just because, like, it hits everything besides Maw, and Maw doesn't really want to be switching in on you either. Going for Webs, yep, good plan. Okay, just under 50. Going for Wish. Getting off a T-Spike. That's a little that's a little iffy. But I mean, Magnezone will still be fine. It's rough for the Spectrier though. That part of it is pretty rough. So let's just see. Going for Victini. This is Boots Victini. Okay, Boots Victini. Still no Ceaseless Edge. Man, that's so many crits and like just general like craziness here when it comes to all these sets. Ooh, the 1%. This is definitely going for Sucker Punch. Oh, no Sucker Punch. I'm really surprised you did not go for Ceaseless Edge at all here, Cran. Not gonna lie. I feel like spikes were pretty solid here. Unless you just didn't have Ceaseless, which is... I mean, that's fine. Okay, going for Sucker. Volt Switch. Into what? Gallade? Okay. EQ on this thing, I imagine. Okay. Yeah, this likely kills this Victini here. Yep, going for EQ, killing that. Now what else does he bring in next? The Ryun. Okay. Does that... it's kind of rough. Can't lie. The Tera Fairy, Tera Blast. Oof. Man. Well, forcing it out is pretty nice, I'd say. That is pretty nice. No. Wish. Earth Powers, letting that go down. Into Zone? No, definitely not into Zone. But yeah. Okay. That's pitiful damage. That is absolutely pitiful. Wish coming in clutch though. Okay. Yeah, that's one thick Nidoqueen. That's for sure. Reun. And it's the fairy. Okay. That's going for the CM. Flash Cannon. Okay. Does a solid 58. Alright. Not bad shout. That is a lot. That is interesting. Oh. That Flash Cannon though. Okay. That's Scarf Forward right there. So I think Spectrier might be able to just win now. It gets the kill on this, it gets the +1. Oh, and it might be bulky enough to live a Maw Sucker Punch. I don't know for sure. Okay, just going for sub, yep. And yeah, now gotta play those strats. Honestly, if I was Victory Stars, okay, yeah. Honestly, if I was both of them, like if I was Gran, I probably would have kept subbing just the whole way. But it does make sense why he didn't. Yeah, clutched out the dub for sure. I definitely thought that Victory had a really good matchup here. I thought Mega Gallade was just not it. But hey, he ended up packing it in, I feel like. Moltres is sad that thing didn't really do too much outside of just switching it on Meow one turn and then basically knocking it down to Satch. Kind of wish Samu got a spike or two up. I feel like that could have helped out a lot. But otherwise, yeah, very well played all around. Huge crit heavy game. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the 8th battle here. Alright everybody, welcome to the final match of week 3. Here we have Justin versus Kennybot. Honestly, I keep on saying this, but both of these matches I feel like it could be any way. Vaporeon I feel like is very solid defensively into specifically Great Tusk and Starmie, as well as even Golden Go if it's not running like Thunderbolt. And even like Zapdos, I imagine, especially defensive variant, can handle pretty decently, especially Arboliva too. Well, maybe not especially, but generally I think Vaporeon could be pretty solid defensively here. Same thing with Bellibolt, Tinglu, and Pecharunt. These guys are just incredibly difficult to break through. And then Ogerpon Cornerstone on top of it, and there's that Megazam as well, which, I mean, Megazam I feel like doesn't have the worst matchup in the world. Only has one Psychic Resist being Golden Go, and can just kind of, well, and Starmie, both of which get hit pretty hard by a Shadow Ball, which is a pretty decent coverage option here. So I think it is very safe to say that it's a pretty even match, I would say, depending on what the tech people bring is. So let's just get into it and see how it all goes. Alright, so with the leads, here we have Tinglu against Diancie. That's a Mega Diancie that's likely going to turn 1 Mega, and indeed he did. Is this going to be a Heavy Slam? And we do see a Heavy Slam here. Alright, so probably going to go into... Okay, Zapdos trying to go for the Para, and he gets it immediately. Of course he does. Mr. Bot going for U-turn and activates its Weakness Policy. Weakness Policy Tinglu. Absolute insanity. Rock Slide doing a fair chunk to this Arboliva. And it also is giving this Tinglu a little bit of healing too. Oh, that Giga Drain does so much damage. Oh, that throat chop did a lot of damage. But yeah, okay. Going for Strength Sap, lowering this thing's attack stat. I like it. I like the plan. I think at this point it's best to just go for the Giga Drain now. I probably wouldn't Strength Sap just because I imagine you're getting get back up to full anyways. But that's also me wanting to play fast. I think now is the best possible time. Gets the crit, so it doesn't. But it didn't matter. But it's funny. Back up to 100 HP as the grassy terrain goes away, and we see Air Balloon Pecharunt. Golden Go, does he go for... Okay, goes for Nasty Plot. I see you. Going for the... Honestly, risking the Pecharunt so early. Maybe I wouldn't have done that. But, I mean, at the same time, to get rid of Golden Go, I can somewhat understand it. But the Resist Berry stops it dead in its tracks. So I probably wouldn't have risked it there, to be honest. But there weren't too many other potential options, I would see. Going for Knockoff. Avoids the Static proc, as now he's likely going to click Ivy Cudgel. Yep, and that did a lot of damage to this Mega Diancie. This thing is definitely not going to be feeling it. Outspeeding, I think that shows. Okay, they're both 350, so it either speed tied or this is not fully speedy Ogerpon. Okay, now bring in Arvo. Oh, knocking off the Eject Pack. That is an Eject Pack Leaf Storm, if I've ever seen one. But yeah, now that claims a kill. Arboliva claiming 2 kills already, and then Bellybolt is here as well, missing a Thunder Wave. I don't think... honestly, misses on Thunder Waves can always matter, considering the fact that Volparas are a thing that can happen. Going for Discharge, just trying to get a para from that. It does not get it, as Giga Drain is just slowly wearing down this Bellybolt, as now I feel like it's kind of just a pretty predictable slack off here. Going for Soak. If anything, I probably would have went for that earlier, but overall I like the idea here. I would probably switch into Great Tusk now. Okay, going for Zapdos, I think that's fair. I did a lot though. I think going Great Tusk would have been better, just because that would have been able to absorb that, and then he would have been able to just very easily go for a Headlong Rush or even an Earthquake after the fact. I feel like Headlong Rush would generally be better into this matchup with Arboliva there, but c'est la vie. It is what it is. Going for Soak is now, I imagine he's going for the U-turn, hopefully into Great Tusk now. Going for U-turn, getting the electric, getting the charge. Going into Arboliva though, okay. This is still gonna do, okay, 25%, did less than I was expecting, but it is a resisted a hit, so I understand it. I just don't see... I imagine you're just trying to avoid the Tera, if I had to guess. But yeah, I'd probably go for Great Tusk here now. Yep, there he is. And going for the booster speed. Yep, there we go. Gets him a little bit more HP here. I'd just say, okay, going for the Tera Grass. I forgot that this thing got Tera Grass, to be honest. I knew this thing was a Tera Captain, but I didn't see that it was Tera Grass. And Tera Blast KOs the Great Tusk. I see, so Kenny was just playing around the Tera Grass. Okay, I see you. I see you there. Going for Zapdos. Forcing it to Tera... Oh, the missed Hurricane. That's rough. Just going for U-turn, I imagine, here is probably the best bet. Trying to... Yep, just trying to avoid this thing getting its health back. Or just trying to avoid getting like chipped down with Discharge. I wonder. Okay, 18 PP. I was gonna say he's used a lot of Discharge. Going for Golden Go now. Going for Soak. Okay. Ooh, the good is gold blocking the Soak. I didn't know that's how it worked, but I mean, it kind of makes sense that it would. Going for Recover. I see it. Making Veteran's life even more miserable and finally getting a Discharge Para. I wonder what this Golden Go is going to do to this Volleybolt now. Just gonna keep on. Ooh, it's gonna set up in its face. I see. Nasty Plot, Recover, Golden Go. You just really gotta hope that he gets a few full paras. Yep, there's one. If he gets one more, then that's really rough for Kenny. So let's just see. Oh, gets a crit. Does he get a full para? He does not. That crit very nearly could have mattered. But now he's kind of just back in the same position that he was, but he is now getting his health back. Alright, yeah. Going forward again. Full para now. Okay. Go for the recover again. Getting the recover off. Does he go for another one, or does he finally just cut his losses? Nope, going for the nasty plot. He's going for the full. Alright, let's see. Does he get unlucky? Does he get punished? Does not get punished yet. Alright, let's see. Let's see this. He's going for the full enemy number one. Let's see. Going for recover. Just absolutely just not caring about this. Going for it again. Nope. Did not want to risk it. All right. And Mega Zam coming on in, likely gonna click Shadow Ball. I wonder if this seeing Zam with good as gold is funny. Shadow Ball, and it does claim the kill. Does not matter. Was pretty funny though. Can't lie. It was pretty funny. Going for the Terra Fairy. Yep. Does not do much. No. For the Leaf Storm, claiming that kill. Way to go, Mr. Bot with the Tera Arboliva. I love me a good eject pack set with Leaf Storm. I love that. Yep, now going to swap. And Toxic. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Toxic makes sense on this. Going for Natural Cure. Yep, the Natural Cure set. There. Getting a bit of a chunk. Gonna click Leaf Storm again, Mr. Bot. Gonna click it again. Let's see it. Aw, no fun. I hope he's gonna click it one. I hope he's gonna click it this next turn. I really hope he's gonna end it with a Leaf Storm. I know you, Kenny. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. Ah, he didn't do it. Lame. Honestly, though, I really liked the tech on both sides. I really liked the weakness policy Ting Lu. Maybe what I would have done instead of leading off with it right away, I would have saved it to the late game a little bit more until some of its checks were at least a little bit weakened. Like Arboliva, if this thing was weakened or forced to Terra early, so then you could just spam Heavy Slam into this thing, I think that would have been really solid for you. And then Great Tusk being down would have been good. Diane, like there were just so many options that Kenny could go into to handle it after pivoting around it just a little bit. So I think maybe preserving that until later would have been a little bit better. Maybe just a little bit of restructuring, possibly getting a spike up maybe with Ogerpon Cornerstone lead. But I mean, at the same time, I get it if he led. Well, no, because if he didn't lead Mega Diancie, then he wouldn't have the Magic Bounce right away. So I do think that could have been a solid option to get some hazards up. Um, but at the same time, we don't know if this Zapdos had defog. It definitely had a shot to. But otherwise, yeah, I think overall both sides played fairly well for sure. Both played to their outs. I think it was just a matter of like using a few particular mons in a few particular ways to make it a slightly more optimal. I think that was the only thing that really um, put you behind a little bit. And then of course Kenny played excellently as per usual. I love my boy Kenny. But all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week of MMC Pokemon Draft League, and I hope you all. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.